It's time now. US to you. The opinions expressed are those of the program, necessarily those of WSTU. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's time to call in with your questions and comments at 220-9788. 220-WSTU. And now, here's Casey Ingram.
Well, good morning. We have another wonderful show on tap. Actually, I'm pretty excited about. Oh, we do, Eric. We always have something to talk about, and I have Eric Miller here with Talk About Martin.
Good morning.
Which I love to contribute to. And good morning. And we're going to be talking about some Martin County issues this morning. And there's just a lot of things going on. And one of the main issues that I've heard kind of bubbling through the community lately are the waste management fee increase, the vaccine mandate from county and Indiantown. We're going to talk about that. And also the 15 and 12% pay raises for the county administrator position and the county attorney position. So we've kind of followed along with some of those, and we're going to just talk about them today. So I'm going to be following along here on Facebook, folks. If you have a question or comment, I'll be following those comments through Facebook, or you can call into the studio, 772-220-WSTU. That's 220-WSTU 9788. So a lot of things on tap. But before I get into those wonderful topics, I want to thank Indiantown Marina. They're one of my sponsors, and I always have to call them out because we are still in the midst of hurricane season, and a hurricane can come through at it seems like moments notice. And when it does, you need safe harborage for your boats. And there's really no safer place here on the Treasure Coast than Indiantown Marina because they're inland. They're over in Indiantown. They got a safe hurricane hole. And it's so important, folks. I can't stress this enough. Make a reservation. If you don't use it, it's okay. But if you need it, at least you have a place to go because hurricane spots, they're real short here in the area. Many people end up not being able to find a place for their boat. So call Indiantown Marina and make your reservation. Super important. 772-631-3272. Again, that's 772-631-3272. And also, if you have any work you need done on your boat, they're a do-it-yourself boat yard or a full-service boat yard. So prop and shaft work, bottom painting, complete boat painting, so much more. So Indiantown Marina, thank you. And I just highly, highly recommend them. So
I highly recommend them too. If you really are into the water, you're into your watercraft and you travel on it, you're going to find a community of boaters at the marina. It's more than just a parking lot for your boat and dry dock. Scott's put together a real nice place down there, the patios, a place to sit out. And you're probably going to meet some of the crazy locals like me out there from time to time that stop by just to say hi to Scott and catch up on stuff.
We love
smoke
to
a
see
cigar or what have you. So Scott's a great proprietor, and it's a great business.
It truly is. It truly is. And I think he has the Fish House over here in Port Salerno too. So the Fish House Art Center. So another great business that Scott has. But Eric, how are you doing? Seems like you've had a couple weeks.
Doing okay, I guess. It's been a convalescence period for me. I never figured, but 56 years old, that they'd close the door behind me and say, "Welcome to old age."
What's going on?
One thing after another. That there's HIPAA requirements over the years, so we won't talk too much about that. But they locked the door behind me, said, "Welcome to old age," and evidently there's no manual for it. So, changing some of our work patterns and working smarter and not harder, because my mobility has really been cut back. And for me, that's tough, man. I'm an on the go kind of guy. So we're dealing with some physical things God's put in front of us, and they're there for a reason, and we'll work through them.
Well, Eric, I appreciate that you're here today. We talk about Martin, and we talk about things that are in Martin. And it's a contributor website where anybody from around the county can contact you and say, "Hey, I have something to contribute," or follow what's happening along in the county. It's a great website to know what's going on.
Well, thank you. And we're kind of a citizens watchdog, and we've actually had two really big stories that I can think of off the top of my head. One is how the $4 million in the fees that were raised to give money to the teachers in Martin County have actually been allocated. That one came through a legitimate resource coming to us and saying, "Help me get it out. I'm scared." Another one was the waste management bid. When the waste management bid was up, we had people coming to us saying, look, have you heard the other side? Here's the contract. Here are the other people. And, what can we do to help you get the word out? So Martin did a pretty good expose on the waste management contract before it was renegotiated. And I think at that, the outcome and the sentiment from that, Casey, seemed to be, well, I'll let you run down that road, but the past on it is really telling of where it's at now, in my opinion. Let me just leave it at that.
Well, and I think the latest meeting, people are really upset because their tax assessments are coming out on their tax bill, and there's a 24% increase for their waste services. And everybody's like, wait, what's going on? So, I went back, I watched the commission meeting, which anybody can do. It's MCTV. Go on the Martin County Board of County Commission site. You can go right there and watch any past meeting. And there was a lot of discussion about the different waste management companies, and we're going to hear a little bit from a clip from Stacey Hetherington in a minute about how that contract was awarded. But I'm not going to go into that tremendously other than the 24% increase. And I will say this, that Ed Campy, Commissioner Campy, went into a lengthy discussion as to why he chose waste management. And we're looking at other issues with other waste haulers in other counties that are having staffing issues, and waste management's been here and has always done a good job. And I will say, I got to give kudos to waste management in the sense that they're there every week. And I had a neighbor that moved out about a month ago, and literally for 4 weeks in a row, there was 100 feet of household. I don't think they took anything with them, anything in their house, sofas, tables, everything lined up. And I'm like, that is not fair to the waste haulers. That's not really what they're for. But every week they came and picked all that up. It was incredible. So, so to that end, waste management, definitely a great company, but that's not what the question was. The question was how the contract was awarded, which it's an 8-year contract with a 6-year renewal, and then the 24% increase.
Did you happen to get a picture of all of the barrels that were lined up in the field at the fairgrounds?
I did not.
The blue recycle barrels, one stacked on the other, and the other, and the other, and the other.
The ones they're rolling out now.
Well, the ones that evidently, if you leave, at least on one side of the road where I live, if you left your recycle bin out, they picked it up and took it with them, and they left you a new little thing. Don't leave me one, waste management, please. You can contact me. I'll give you my address. I don't want one. I'm going to end up painting it camouflage, and you're going to end up hating me for it because it'll take up too much room in my garage. But the question that I have, the blue barrels of polyethylene that are sitting out there that are great for the environment, what did that cost? And if we had not been doing, are we getting ready to go to mandatory lift trucks so that the union
That's what's happening.
Yeah, okay. Well,
they are going to mandatory lift
great?
trucks.
Well, I want my other garbage can that they took and threw into the back of the garbage truck back then. It's ridiculous.
That's just the thing. And then the county was demanding this, and they demanded they get the natural gas trucks. So waste management, and they had to switch over. And with the thing with waste management, with those barrels, I've got one as well, but I had a note on it, do not use until October. So now I've got 2 recycle bins in my garage.
As we were told at the UN yesterday, that climate change, this is it. We all have to do our part. So let's get those natural gas vehicles running. Yep. I mean, the ramifications be damned.
That's what's going on. And folks, you can hear all about it at the, I think it was the August 24th meeting of the Martin County Commission meeting. And a lot of people have been saying, oh my gosh, a 24% increase, why all in 1 year? And that's something that could have been spread out. And honestly, there was a vote in the one, and Stacey Hetherington was the one commissioner that voted against the 24% increase. Not so much the increase itself, but instituting it all in 1 year, because folks, it may not seem like a lot of money to some people, but it is.
Okay.
If you're on a fixed income.
Can we just go back for 1 second here in my mind to the commission meetings prior where this contract against another hauler that came in with a much more significant discount and the same level of guaranteed services that they'd have to perform? What was the reason we were told? What was the big push? It's for the kids. It's for the community. It's all the great things they do for the community. And my argument was, don't take my money to let somebody else do something in the community. Leave my money with me and I will do to better my own community. Right. Now we're taking 24% for the argument of it was all for the good of the community and the good they do. All things being equal, the one that put me over the top was they do so much for the community. We'll be back. It's crazy. It is. They sold it to this like this to us a few months ago, and now there's a 24% increase on the table. What do they take us for? A lot of us don't look at the little screens all day.
Right.
We actually pay attention to the world around us, and that is ridiculous.
And that's one of the big messages here, Eric, is with our county commission and really any elected official. We elect them to represent us. And it's so hard for us as citizens to follow these meetings and realize what's going on. And we are going to get into that. So we're depending on them to make the decisions that we feel is best. So when they don't, it's a little shocking, and it slips by because we can't follow every meeting. They want input, but it's hard for people to give input.
I would argue
with
you
meeting.
that the opportunities for them of the things to vote on are not the necessary things that we should even be talking about or them voting on.
Right.
They are given false choices, false narratives, false opportunities. They're not voting our will. They're voting on what's being put on their plate.
They do.
That's it.
They do. And Evan, if you can cue up the Stacey Hetherington, this was her feelings on the waste management 24% fee increase.
Keep my blood pressure
Just a
down.
few comments based on some of the residents' comments this morning and Commissioner Campy. A lot of what you said, I agree, but from the beginning of this process, keep in mind the county hired a consultant to write this request for proposals. And that was what you described earlier a year or so ago. And, that consultant put in exactly what we were asking for. So when we received those bids and they weren't apples to oranges, it's because that provider, Waste Management, knew the service they were delivering. And the other, I believe, bidders were bidding on what was on the paper, right or wrong. And our legal staff has always said they don't want the commissioners involved in those RFP processes, which I always disagree with, because some of this could have been, I think, prevented on taking input on some of these RFPs, because when we put it in that request for proposal and bidders are bidding on it, then they're providing what was requested in that bid. I personally don't agree with everything that we put in that request for proposal. These bidders provided it.
Well, there you go, Eric. That's just what you were talking about.
She's actually amplifying what I'm saying, and it all comes back from not too far back in our past, but there's a system that's running the system. The elected don't have a choice. All they have is an illusion of integrity sitting up there. The choices that they're presented with are false choices because everything's being administered for them. Congress does the same thing. There's two powerful acts that took place in the United States over the course of our history that actually abdicated the responsibility of Congress to agencies, FBI, the Department of Education, all these different, the FDA, all these different departmental, they make regulations and they administer the business of the people.
Right.
Well, we have administrators locally with rules that are put in front of them. You should read the statute that governs the administrator and gives what they can and can't do within the county. It's very telling. So, our system's sick right now. Both locally and at a national level. And it's going to take people like you and I and the people listening to this to actually accept the fact that there are problems as adults. And we need to begin having conversations on what we agree with that does work. And let's get rid of the rest of it for a while. There's some pain coming, guys. And if we can't do it on the same page, we're going to be in real trouble.
We really do, as citizens, need to take charge. And one thing that surprised me, Stacey said that they don't want the commissioners in charge of the RFPs. Well, my goodness, we have elected the commissioners to work for us. So if we're just taking staff's recommendations and they're just voting, why do we have commissioners?
That's a very good question.
If all they're going to do is take staff recommendation, forget about it. Just let staff run the county. That's
Howard
what's
Brown's
happening.
running the Village of Indiantown.
There's staff running the a whole elected body. So,
Yeah.
that's where we as citizens, it's just good to talk about, get it out there. As you said, this isn't just happening locally; it's happening all the way up on a national
And it's
level.
a plan. It's actually a plan that was put forward from Woodrow Wilson was one of the big instigators of the progressive movement. And there's a book I brought with me called Philip Drew Administrator, and you need to look this one up. It's an afternoon read. It's Edward Mandel House, who is the author, and it speaks about how the engine got started to have a system that would run and administer itself regardless of who was in office.
Can you hold that cover up so folks on Facebook and
There
YouTube
you
can see
go.
what it looks like?
Woodrow Wilson actually read this 4 times. This was one of his favorite books on how to create an administrative, governmental world, and that was his panacea. And well, here you are, guys.
That's
We're
right.
here. You're
That's
being
right.
administered. Everything that you do is being administered, and it's an illusion of integrity at this point.
And folks, if you want to join in the conversation, 772-220-9788. That's 772-220-WSTU. And of course, I'm watching right here on Facebook Live for comments and questions as well. The next topic I want to go into, Eric, as there was a vote very recently for the county administrator and county attorney pay raises. The county administrator has a 15% increase. And Taryn Krista is our current county administrator. She is leaving the county next year. They made it very clear this wasn't something she asked for. This is something that, again, staff in the county said, we need to look at everybody's salary because we got to worry about retention and whatnot. And Iggy, there's a visual if you could put up. We're going to start talking about that a little bit. And Eric, I had sent you a copy as well.
Yeah.
The county attorney got a 12% increase. Now, folks, the current salary for our county administrator is $190,000. So this bumped that salary level up to $219,000. The county attorney, her current salary level is $180,000. That bumps her salary up to $202,000. Now, I did a little research here before the show that I wanted to share with you. And if you're on YouTube or Facebook, and this will go on YouTube after the program ends today, you'll be able to see it. But I looked at counties that had similar sizes in their county administrator positions. And one thing I noticed, and I'm going to ask Evan here to play it in 1 second. Matt Graham, he's the HR director for the Matthew Graham for the county, had went through and said, well, we have compared salaries of public entities, 58 public entities. And that caught my attention. I'm like, why aren't we comparing salaries to other county administrators in counties of similar size?
Yeah.
What's these public entities? Well, it turns out it's Palm Beach Gardens, Jupiter Island city managers. Not the same position. So if you would go ahead and just play that clip, Evan, from Matthew Graham.
We also look at our surrounding counties, cities, and those areas where we might be losing some of our employees in the middle of next year. And so anticipation of preparing for our budget and planning for our future, we've looked at the market analysis for our county administrator position. We've also looked at our county attorney position. Both of these are 2 contracted positions that we have with the county. Based upon a review of 58 Florida public entities, the average salary rounded up for the county administrator is $219,000, and for the county attorney, it's $202,000 rounded up. So we're requesting that at a minimum, the county administrator be adjusted to $219,000. And our county attorney be adjusted to $202,000.
So, folks, they picked public entities. Again, it's not county administrators, and just did an average. So now, Iggy, if you can put that screenshot back up, let's compare some counties that are similar in size, their county administrator and county attorney salaries, those that have county attorneys. Martin has a population of about 161,000. We currently are paying $190,000 to the county administrator, and the attorney is getting $180,000. Indian River, virtually the same size, $160,000. Their county administrator, $198,000. County attorney, $173,000. Citrus County, $153,000 population. The county administrator, $154,000. The attorney, $151,000. Charlotte County, across the state, $188,000 population. $196,000 for the county administrator, $211,000 for the county attorney. Bay County, $182,000 population. Their county administrator, $170,000. I don't believe they have a county attorney. I couldn't find a salary for that. Hernando County, $194,000 population, about $30,000 more. County administrator, $173,000. County attorney, $166,000. Okaloosa, population 211,000. So we're looking at about 50,000 people more than us. The county administrator, 106,000. I didn't get an attorney for there. Santa Rosa, $184,000. The county administrator is $147,000, and the county attorney I did not find there. So the average county administrator right now in similar counties of our size, $175,000. Ours right now is $190,000 going up to $219,000. Average county attorney out of these counties, excluding Martin, $175,000. Ours was at $188,000, will now be $202,000. This vote just went through the county, and it was a 4-1. Hurd was the only one that voted against it. And Evan, I have a clip about from Commissioner Hurd about how she felt about this.
I certainly understand that we need to adjust salaries at times for recruitment and for retention purposes, but that's not the case here. An increase for the county administrator of $29,000 and for the county attorney of $22,000 is excessive, and it's excessive, especially considering that would become the new base, and the county administrator is leaving us next year, so that would be a $29 increase that would be our new base. And so I think that if you want to compensate, reward the county administrator and the county attorney, and I certainly believe that they rewarded, but do it, make it a cash reward, not adding to the base. So I'm not going to be supporting this. I think that we should work to devise an appropriate raise, but not like this.
So that was Commissioner Hurd and her feelings on this, 12 and 15% raise for positions that, in my opinion, compared to other counties, they were already at the top of the level. They were already above average. So
somebody's got to be number one.
We are. We are. And again, what caught my attention was, why are we comparing salaries of public entities? Why are we not comparing salaries to the apples to apples, the same position, county administrators and county attorneys? Part of that actually popped out at the very end of Commissioner Hurd's comments, which was not on this clip. I have one that I'm going to try and play off my phone here because I didn't get it into the radio in time. But, why would we be giving such huge raises right now? And by the way, I agree with Commissioner Hurd. Give a bonus if you need to. But these are not positions that we're worried about retention. I mean, neither.
You're being gracious.
Position.
You're using actual math to try to solve the problem. I think the bigger problem here is that the lack of principle and ethic, that the ethos that's missing from this. Look, a complicated equation, right? Taryn has done a very good job for what she does. Okay. I would argue, again, that comes from Philip Drew administrator, that we should not have administrators within these counties. Okay. Now what though? I mean, the pool's so deep and we're so entrenched in it. It's statutorily there. We're there. You have these people. So what do? Do you pay to get the best and reward the best? I would in my business. I guess if you're the number one employer within the county and you have thousands of employees that you're taking care of, there's a reward factor monetarily that should go with that, disassociating government from private business. However, I'm still upset that we're in a position that we even have to have this argument because of the way the system has been rigged against itself, and that commissioners would sit there and, God love Taryn. I've worked with Taryn over the past 2 decades, okay, in a lot of different capacities, not one-on-one all of the time, but she's helped get things done for other nonprofits and things that I've worked for,
right.
And other initiatives within the community and the county and governmentally through the GOP and everything else that's happened. I got nothing against Taryn, okay? Taryn's good at what she does, but guys, you don't set a precedent of giving that large of a percentage of a raise because you think that you want her to know she's appreciated. Well, the taxpayers would appreciate their money too, because that base raise goes against her. Look at the other end of the financial formula you haven't put in there yet, and that is what happens to the state pension fund that she's obviously going to be a governmental member of.
And that is, I don't have that formula in there. There's more to this, Eric.
It's complicated, but I'm upset with the fact that we're at the point that we even have to have the discussion that this should have even been an idea to take place.
What was disappointing to me is the commissioners, nobody said, why why are we comparing to public entities? Why aren't we comparing to other county administrators? There was really no discussion. There was a bunch of support except for from Commissioner Hurd. And I thought, these are, I mean, how would you like, you're at almost 200,000, you get a 15% increase. I mean, that just, is unheard of. I know, my goodness. And I want to make this clear. Taryn Krista, Sarah Woods, they did not ask for this. This was brought up by, it was presented by Matthew Graham, the HR director, and Don Donaldson, the deputy county administrator. And they made it clear this is not, Taryn's leaving next year. This is going to be a big bonus for the next administrator.
I know Taryn well enough to know that she has enough personal respect and credibility for herself that she would not bring that.
She did not. She did not. And by the way, this is the only two positions the Board of County Commissioners are responsible for hiring, and that's the attorney and the county administrator. However, there was a little thing that popped out at the end that I mentioned before. I said, why are we giving such big raises? What is this averaging of public entities? And I'm going to play off my phone here. Hopefully, folks, this works. Another comment by Commissioner Hurd that came right after the comment you just heard earlier.
And also, I think that the next step, which is promised in here, is to look at department heads' salaries. And I don't want to see the same sort of recommendations coming out of department head salaries also. But I think that that's where we're being led.
Wait, what? Department head salaries are coming next. So are we going to decide 12 and 15% across the board for department heads, because that's what they recommended for the county administrator and the attorney? Folks, this is why we bring this up. This is something we need to watch. This is a lot of money. This is our money. And and give me a second here. I got to turn my video back off on my phone. So, so that was something that was quite eye-opening. That Commissioner Hurd popped that out at the end. That there's more to come. There are more raises to come, and we've set a base standard now of 12 to 15%. So,
I'm going to post on the talking notes, are the show prep and the talking notes that we're going to do with the show today up on Talk About Martin Casey on your page, and I'm going to put Florida Statute 125.74 up there, and it's the county administrator's powers and duties, what they actually can and can't do. And these are enumerated powers. They're not limiting powers. They are enumerated. So the things that are said here are the only powers that a county administrator has. Some of these are very broad in stroke. And as you go through them, setting the salaries for those department heads is stipulated within this here. So, and when you look, it all comes back at the end. It's convenient. It says, with recommendations from the county commission, with recommendation from the county commission. So they always turn it back around to say the county can always say, well, we got to vote on it. Yeah, well, you got to vote on what was brought before you. That's it.
Well, it seems like, again, I'm starting to wonder why we have a commission if we're just taking staff recommendation. I mean, we could save a lot of money not having salaries to the commissioners, not having the retirement, the pensions, if all they're going to do is take staff recommendation.
Well, I think you just hit the nail on the head, though, where the department head increased recommendations coming back. They don't originate with the commission. They originate with the administrator, and the administrator brings those recommendations forward, and no other side is shown to the commission. The commission has to do their own homework to understand where they even stand, unless you just take the administrators, and this is not talking Taryn, this is in every county in the state of Florida that works this way. You take that administrator's, well, we know our administrator give us the information that we want. Well, maybe not. Maybe it doesn't politically align with your understanding of the Constitution, for one. You got to look at these things for yourselves, guys. You've abdicated too much responsibility and put too much power into the hands of too many people. And given Mark Breckbill's show just before this, you listen to Mark will tell you the same darn thing. There are some really hard and ugly financial times coming. And if they think at the county level that they're going to continue to be able to use this kind of a budget level in the crises that's coming in the next year and a half to 2 years, they're out of their mind. They should be stockpiling every bit of capital goods and equipment that they can right now and scaling the heck back.
That's right. The economy always goes up and it goes down. It never stays up. And you're absolutely right. You have to plan for rainy days, rainy times.
Unbelievable.
And, I'll make one more comment about the county administrator email. Again, her salary is $190,000. There is another county, and a lot of this came to light, that is looking for Santa Rosa County. They're looking for a county administrator, and their salary was the lowest at $147,000, almost $50,000 below hers before the 15% increase. And they are having difficulty, but I get that. The average is $175,000. So there's a happy balance. But again, folks, we have to question, how do we staff is kind of cherry picking public entities, not similar positions, but just public entities. They cherry picked them and said, oh, we're just going to average them all. And there was the increase. So just a huge topic that we need to just follow our commission. And this is one of many decisions that we need to just keep our eye on. I mean, it's hard. Eric, I said it before. We hire them because we think they're going to vote the way we want, vote our values.
That's what they tell you.
That's what they tell you. And, it's easy to get caught up in life and not follow these commission meetings. But folks, I mean, hard times are coming, and it's not easy for everybody right now. Not everybody's making $200,000 a year where, a $75 increase on your waste services in 1 year is a lot to some people. And these increases, this is tax money.
These things called fixed
incomes.
That's right. That are out there.
That's right.
What Don Bongino have to say about this wonderful commission at
my
the last
goodness.
Lincoln Day dinner?
I was at the Lincoln Day dinner with Dan Bongino, and he really called out the commission, and it was Sewell's Point as well as the county commission. And he said, start acting like Republicans and, stop just raising taxes. And he did not mince words. It was really an excellent Lincoln Day dinner. And it really, the point that hits home is you've got to get involved. That means we, the residents, you have to know what's happening. It starts locally. You can't, there's a lot happening nationally. And boy, Eric, you and
maybe
I
they'll listen to him for a change, because I echoed that vocally in front of the same group of people a decade ago, and they ran me out of town. So good luck, Dan.
Yeah.
I guess you're a celeb so that they'll listen to you. And if that's what it takes,
well, I don't know if
God
they will.
bless you, brother. But thank you for
will.
calling them out in their own house.
He
there needs
did.
to be some responsible reform that takes place within the GOP, especially in Florida.
I think it's a wake-up call. I know everybody's, it's not just an easy vote. It's not a feel-good vote, and you're not voting for friends. You need to vote what's best for the constituents. So,
but people don't even understand what's out there. I don't think they even understand how their government's run.
No,
even at a local level. Sewell's Point, I doubt they do. All they know is that their trim notice goes up or down. That's the only thing they care about. Or there's a pothole.
Or what goes into it. That's exactly right.
And it's okay. I mean, if you can be in that position, but don't get upset when things don't go your way because you're not monitoring the system or the people that are providing what you expect to be there for you.
That's right.
Because it's going to run away. It's going to say, hey, they're not looking. Let's go over here.
Alicia Parenthouse said, your book, could you hold it up again? She didn't quite see it. And
there you go.
Perfect.
Filter administrator.
There we go. Thank you so much.
Amazon.com.
Amazon.com. Amazon has everything. Love Amazon. So, all right, Eric, I'm going to let you take the lead on this topic because it's something that you first alerted everybody to through Talk About Martin, and that is the vaccine mandate with Indiantown and the county administrator. They're calling it.
They're calling it incentive.
Incentive, right? It's not necessarily a mandate.
Incentivize people to get the vaccine. Well, when I saw this, I'm thinking, okay, now I cannot draw a distinction between, private and government at this point. The government has no business spending my money, especially when the elected are not approving the expenditure of this money to incentivize people to get a vaccine that for whatever moral, religious, or just common sense reasons don't want to get it. Okay. It is a means of segregation to try and say, well, we're going to give you extra sick time if you get it. And if you don't get it, well, you're going to spend your sick time and then you'll have to spend your vacation time too. And we can't help you. So get the vaccine. It's like, look, these people are working with kids at home, with families trying to live the life that got you to the $225,000 salary every year. I mean, $20,000 a month in a paycheck, boy. I hope you got some good tax shelters for that one, because that's just juicy. But to try to use my tax dollars to then segregate people, to force them into something where now the truth is kind of coming out about this virus. 60% of Florida's hospitals right now are full of people that are fully vaccinated but have COVID. The idea that you're trying to save the continuity of government, I can't be without all my government workers. I'll tell you what, let the people of Martin County and Indiantown try to get along without 20% of their people for a little bit. It might actually be good to show that you're a little bloated in your staffing and the administration of it's all overdone. But the ethical part, I'll tell you what, why don't we just have those members of Indian town government employees and the county employees put little yellow stars on their lapel if they're not vaccinated and walk around the halls all day long?
That's just about it.
And how do you get across HIPAA requirements, personal medical information, to even come to me and say, are you vaccinated? None of your damn business.
Absolutely right. I mean, it astounded me too that unvaccinated employees are not eligible for sick leave. They have to use their their vacation pay. But
Yeah.
if you're vaccinated, and Taryn, there's many emails. Folks, again, you can go in and read county commission and county administrator emails. Type in Google Martin BOCC emails. A link for it will come in, and you can read every email you want. They are public record. Taryn, many people talked to her about it, and Eric, you were one of them. You wanted some answers. Did you ever get answers?
I did get an answer back. And one of the questions that I asked was, what gives you the constitutional authority to be able to take this step as an administrator? Where is your constitutional right to implement this? Why is the commission not having to vote on this? And I was told in here, and I'll try and find it again, but to paraphrase her, she said that this was not something that the commission should be voting on, and she would never bring it to them to vote on to begin with. She gives her legal guidelines under the statute that I'm going to post, 125.74. And after going through it with a little critical thinking skill, I know you can look that up on Amazon too. There's plenty of books about critical thinking. The area that I found in here, the most likely place in the statute that actually gives her the authority to do this, and it's still, again, this is written with so much room in it, 125.74 of the Florida statutes, .I. Develop, install, maintain centralized budgeting, personnel, legal, and purchasing procedures. So she has to develop, install, and maintain centralized personnel procedures.
So she put that under a procedure.
It is coming under a procedure. Now, if you could proceduralize an incentive for me, I would like to see a procedural incentive put on a line, on a nice little logic tree, and show me it's an oxymoron. The two don't work together. You don't proceduralize incentive.
Right. You're absolutely, I agree with you 100%, Eric. That is.
So I'm against this one, Taryn. You're wrong. I understand probably her motives, I think, as an administrator and wanting to maintain her domain. She has that responsibility. She's being paid graciously for it to maintain continuity. She obviously believes at some point that the virus is better affected by the vaccine and the people are better served by having vaccinated workers. Okay, that's your thinking. I can throw 1,000 things on the table that would discredit that. The point being is, this isn't something that we should be having this type of, again, discussion on a virus. What is it next time? What is it? Short hair, long hair?
That's right. I mean, this is America. That's the end of the day here is, okay, call it a procedure, call it what you want. Many people are calling it more of a mandate. Either way, this is America. It's up to people to have that decision whether or not they want that vaccine. And my goodness, Eric, if you want to get it, get it. If you don't, you should have that right not to.
I agree with you too. And everybody's talked that horse to death, and we all know where we're standing. We're not going to change anybody's mind. But again, come back to Philip Drew, administrator, where we've statutorily now set up a system that gives the administrator permission to do the same things that we're warning about.
Right.
It's the system created. It's not prophecy.
It's unintended consequences too. That's right. It's unintended consequences of how these regulations are written. They're interpreted. And
lack of oversight by our elected officials, because we're not holding them accountable for the things that they think need to be done. They blame the agency. They gave their power to the agency. What in the heck do they expect? It seems like there's a need to pull some of these reins back. And I'm sorry, it comes down to politics. Dirty word with a lot of people. It's politics with a K anymore, or an X at the end. But the GOP in Martin County is no better than the Democrats, because the Democratic Party was decimated. 20% of their people flooded into the GOP, and you'll find a large percentage of them in leadership of the local GOP at this point. Okay. I can tell you that from experience and fact. So you really got to know who's who and what you believe in. That if you're going to, if you're going to go with a political party, you better figure out who they are and what they stand for before you get in there, and don't take lip service, because there's a lot of that goes on, a lot of lying, a lot of false virtue.
Well, I think a lot of people are frustrated with both parties right now, and I think that's
All they want to do is win. All they want
Yeah.
to do is get elected, get my guy in, my team, go team, go team. How about some principled people to go in and do the principled hard work that we need to? How about going in and rolling back some laws? Let's say for the next 10 years, all we're going to do is
That'd be
roll laws
amazing.
back instead of creating them.
that would
We'd
be
never
amazing.
even make a dent.
No, we wouldn't. We wouldn't make it done, and
It's crazy.
and what a fight that would be, honestly. And this happens in all walks. We're just talking about the vaccine, but this reminds me being in Washington, D.C. back in, I think it was 2013 with the water issues. The Army Corps engineers said, oh, it's not us, it's Congress. Congress said, it's not us, it's Department of Environmental Quality. And it's just everybody pointed a finger at somebody else, and nobody is there to take responsibility. So
It's all being administered.
it's all because
No one has the authority to do
There's no
anything. My
final-
regulations say I can't do that.
So, Eric, you also brought a clip from Indiantown, and tell us a little bit about what's going on in
Hey,
Indiantown.
God bless America, people. And when a good American is elected to office, you stand up and you let the world know. You've heard me talk on this show and on Talk About Martin. I've exposed a young elected official by the name of Anthony Dowling, and he is a councilman in Indiantown. And he was recently nominated to be elected during the last transition that their council does every year to elect a mayor and a vice mayor. Well, Anthony was nominated for vice mayor. And at that point, Miss Susan Gibbs Thomas, who was the first mayor of Indiantown, I'll
Right.
remind everyone,
Yes, she was.
had a council comment. And if you have that queued up, go ahead and play what she had to say for us.
Council member Gibbs Susan Thomas.
Thank you. I would just like to say this past year, the comments from this dais by the nominee have not supported all of Indiantown and does not support the constitutional values of Indiantown residents, and as we, the elected officials, are sworn to do. And having listened to Indiantown's residents' wish on this, I cannot support this nomination.
Awesome.
She stood up for what she believes her constituents, what she's there to be elected to do.
Amen.
Absolutely.
She didn't call names. She was right out in the open with it. And that's the way it needs to be done. Susan's there for the right reason in Indiantown. And that's why they don't like her, because the right things require a certain level of common sense. And when you try to obfuscate common sense, you get into chaos.
Right.
And there's a lot of that going on. We can see it.
And it's very tough with the council because there's 5 councils. So if you don't have majority, I mean, she's like almost, it seems like she's kind of the lone voice out there.
She is the lone voice. And I'll tell you what, here's a perfect opportunity. Local Martin County GOP, Indiantown is still in your county out here. Believe it or not, we are in Martin County. Here's an opportunity to come out and try to support this next election, maybe even though it's nonpartisan, but there's a lot that the GOP can do with its machine to help support people like Susan, maybe help recruit some people out there that hold values that are closer to the center, to the people, to the independent way of thinking, that are not all aligned with people like Anthony Dowling, who's a member of a progressive organization called YEO, Young Elected Officials, which is founded by the Tides Foundation and others. It's an outshoot of this corrupt 30-something think of cancel culture, Black Lives Matter, all the evil that is coming politically through the progressive movement. Thank you, Philip Drew, Administrator, and Woodrow Wilson again. That's the direction. When you look at the direction where Wilson and all of these things are going on the political scale, you can see that where it's actually leading you. And I'll put this up on our talk show or on our talking points as well, to kind of give you a visual as to if we continue down the road of all of these bad-natured ideas and ideologies and just adhere to them because it's our team, America's going to end up in a very bad place, and it's going to be a very dark place. And I think that we could end up making some of the dark times in this world look really bad because we're pretty educated people and we got some creative ideas. I don't like where it's going. We need to turn our face back to God, quite honestly, individually first, and then we can talk about maybe collectively doing it. But if we don't each turn back to the right direction that we know to be right, nothing's going to change. Nothing will change.
And Eric, I think we really need to look at not just parties. We need to look at the person. I mean, I think there's such an underbelly of a current of undermining of America. This happens in both parties. So if we're not really evaluating the candidates, just because we're voting for R or D doesn't mean that's what you're getting.
I was told by a sitting lieutenant governor, he asked me why, as running for chairman, why would you want to build the party? Why would you want more people in the party? And I looked at him astonished, and he said, I'll never repeat this. You can say it if you want. I'll never admit to saying it. But he said, we can control a smaller number of people easier than we can control a large group of independent thinkers. They do not want you involved in the system. It is an illusion of integrity, folks. And once that glass breaks and you see it, know that there are other people out there that are awake like you, because once you see what's really going on behind that wall, there's no walking back out. There's no curtain to walk back through. You either accept reality or you live in this cognitive dissonance, this dystopia that you've got to pretend. And that's not healthy mentally or physically for anyone.
No.
The human is not set for that type of environment.
No, and Eric Miller, I want to point out too, you've been involved in politics for a very long time. And, I appreciate all that you have done to try and bring a voice, especially to the Republican Party, conservative voice.
Well,
and,
thank you. You're about the second person that said that to me. I appreciate
I don't know about that. But, it's really something. And maybe someday we'll talk a little bit more about your involvement in the Republican Party. You were part of the Republican Executive Committee. You were on a state level.
Yeah. State committeeman,
and
2 terms.
What you just said, that they didn't want you to bring more people in the party because they can control a smaller group. That's
when I started. I ran against the then sitting Jim Greer as chairman, coming in as freshman. I started my campaign before I'd even taken my seat. I'd won the election, but hadn't been confirmed yet. And I began running for chairman at that point. Charlie Crist was our wonderful, illustrious governor. And I stood at the podium. I shook Charlie's hand and walked up to the podium and kind of let loose with, it's time for some responsible reform. This crap that's going on is ridiculous. And that's Marco Rubio was serving as a state committeeman with me at that point. And there was a big scandal with American Express cards. And Jim Greer ended up actually spending time in prison because a lot of people were able to start talking about things. And you can't be afraid to say what needs to be said. I mean, I don't know. It's like the kid at Christmas when everyone's sitting around and says, where's crazy Uncle Joe? Well, now you can call him crazy Uncle Joe. We never used to say that Uncle Joe was crazy, but now the little kid did. So it's out in the open. So we can all say it. And that's just kind of what has to be done sometimes.
Well, you just mentioned Charlie Crist. That's a poster child for why you shouldn't be voting for a name. That man was a Republican, then he became an independent, now a Democrat. Where are his values? What does he stand for?
Where's the values of the RPOF at that point, too? I mean, I was able to take 1/3 of the vote by being an unknown, just with a message and something that I was delivering in what brief resource and opportunity I had to get to the people that I needed to get to vote for it, that were the RPOF. They were the Republican Party of Florida. They were the ones that were making these decisions. They were the ones that were sponsoring candidates and were responsible for the upbringing of where's the next class of our politicians. There's no recruitment that's done. It's who has the most money, who can show up at a cocktail party, and who has the most influence. What's the biggest boondoggle of the day that you can provide some support for 9 times out of 10 is what it boils down to.
Well, that's what it feels like to me, Eric, is that, with the Republican Party, for instance, they get a candidate they feel is most electable, not necessarily the best candidate, not the one that holds the most conservative values. It doesn't matter. As long as they have an R behind that name, let's get them elected. It doesn't matter if they hold conservative values or not. And, that's a real problem because that comes from within.
It does come from within, but the problem that you have is when you start getting to the top and the leadership is promoting this R, this big R
Yeah.
or this big D. And what's behind it, they're doing so much more in the background. Like the lieutenant governor said, we can control a smaller number of people. Relax. Let us get done what we need to get done. It's for the better of the party. It's for the better of this. It's for the better of that. No, it's not. A bird has two wings, right?
Right.
You take one wing away, it's not going to fly. One wing gets weak, it's not going to fly properly. And our nation's a lot like that. We have two parties, two wings.
Right.
We don't leave the ground unless both of those wings can work together. And I'm telling you, we're sitting on the tarmac right now. We're in trouble.
It's a
There's
really
there's
good
no taking
analogy.
off. Yeah.
It's a very good analogy. And, you have to look at how this country, where it's going. I mean, look at the last 30 years. Think about where you were 30 years ago, where the country was.
Don't make me.
Sorry, Eric. But it's my point that we really have to get involved, and things may change. Like this might be just one decision, a vote that comes up, and you think, it's only one vote, but it's not. It snowballs over time. And I look at where we are today.
I got to go one step past that, Casey, because before you go down to make your voice heard on something, understand why you are making your voice heard. Okay. And don't feel because it doesn't go that you're defeated. You have to understand what's actually happening that brought this thing that you don't agree with to the forefront. What have you not been looking at that allowed the people that you were trusting to tell you that all was going to be good, and all of a sudden all is not good? And now what do you do? Well, I'm not going to make a difference. I'll just sit here. They're going to continue to do the same thing. So yes, speaking up is good, but understand why you got to the point that you had to speak up first. And that takes watching what's going on. You don't have to be a scholar. All you have to do, listen to 15, 20 minutes of the next commission meeting. I don't care when or how you do it. Take your phone to the bathroom with you and listen to a commission meeting for 10 minutes and try to listen to the words and see if you can figure out what your elected are actually doing.
We're in a really good time right now because technology does enable us to watch the commission meetings. And, right now they posted after the meeting, the video of it, and it's targeted by the topic. So, you can point right to that topic. And if only 3 of them are something that really concerns you, you only have to watch those 3. You don't have to sit through 8 hours of commission meeting.
Multitask.
Right. You can multitask. Absolutely.
Plug it into your ear pods when you're in your car and listen to 10 minutes of it, for goodness
sake. See if those commissions, if you agree with them or not, and if they don't, say something. You have to stand up. And when it comes time for voting, this last time was a really strange election because in most cases there was not any opponent.
It was because you have a single party.
Right.
You have a single think here in this county. And if you think for one second that it's even close to conservative, forget independent.
Right.
My goodness.
Right.
They're neocons.
Right.
They're at the bottom end of the scale.
It is. It's very eye-opening.
I'm speaking in generalities. There's a lot of good people, and I know a lot of good people that are involved with the local GOP, and they're well-intended. But again, they're in a system they have to conform to.
Well, it is. There's a lot of pressure to conform. And again, it's because, Republicans got to win no matter what. So you got to vote R. And
you have to sign an oath that you won't speak ill of the Republican Party or any of the candidates once you are elected to either a precinct committee seat or to a state level seat. And those are your 2 entry points into the system. And you can't say anything adverse to the party or the people that are elected. So how do you make change within a party if you can't criticize your own party for its own mishaps?
That's a very good point. They're silencing you, and that's what happened to you.
Well, it did happen. I understand why they did it, because a bunch of Democrats would join the Republican Party and just come in and do nothing but badmouth, and they wouldn't have any way to go. And, if they want to call me a Democrat, they're fine to do that. I really don't care. I'm not. But there has to be a mechanism internally to deal with these types of things.
Well, this is Eric Miller with Talk About Martin. Folks, talkaboutmartin.com. There's also a Facebook page. This is a great place to go to get a lot of different issues that are happening around the county. Also, if you have something to contribute, reach out to Eric. He'll make you a contributor. And it's always good to hear from everybody. Again, talkaboutmartin.com. Also, the show is now on YouTube at CaseyIngramShow.com. If you go to my Facebook page, click on the YouTube link, you'll get right there. And I look forward to seeing you next week. We're going to have Terry Barber on the show.